Welcome to the Life Leadership Podcast with myself, Leila Singh, all things coaching, career and personal branding. This podcast is for ambitious career professionals like you, wanting to create a life of choice and freedom, to be, do and have more through overcoming limitations, to develop new perspectives and insights, and to redefine your success, be that in work, health, relationships, and so much more. Hi there, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. My name is Leila Singh. I'm a personal brand coach, mentor and trainer, and I work with tech industry career professionals who are looking to get promoted, to maximize their earnings potential and increase their personal income by up to 47%, to ultimately advance their career by building a powerful personal brand and showing up as the best version of themselves. So first of all, let's start by saying, what is personal branding? What is the definition of that? It's others' perceptions of you. It's your reputation amongst your peers, your colleagues, managers, and even across your industry. And it's what people say about you when you're not in the room. And most importantly, I believe, it's the feeling that one experiences when they meet you, when they work with you, and when they hear your name mentioned, because those feelings create lasting perceptions. And why is this important? Well, it's important because it's critical to understanding who you are, what you stand for, and what you want to be known for, both personally and professionally. And it's also integral to all stages of your career. So whether you're early on, you're starting out on your career, or perhaps you're already established and you're wondering, well, does this really matter to me? Absolutely, yes, it does. Maybe you're looking to change role or pivot to something completely new. Perhaps you're looking to advance or accelerate your career and enhance your visibility. Maybe you want to be a more effective leader. Or quite simply, you're looking to create an industry profile. So whatever it might be for you, it is important, it's imperative that you are able to stand out from the crowd, rise above the noise so that people know who you are, they will gravitate towards you, and they will have you top of mind when they're making those big decisions, whether it's a hiring decision, who to award the next project or client to, whether it's the promotion, the bonus, all of those things, you want to be top of mind for those decision makers. So that's where it's so imperative your personal brand stands out. And in today's episode, we are going to talk about the fact that growth and comfort do not coexist. And who says this? Ginny Rometty, who is the former chairman, president and CEO of IBM. And her actual quote is, "I learned to always take on things I'd never done before, because growth and comfort do not exist." And why am I sharing this with you today? Because here's the thing, without taking those risks, without stretching yourself and trying something new, how will you ever know what you're truly capable of? Have you ever considered this? As a child, we are curious, we're inquisitive, we're playful. We take risks and we try new things, and we fall over and we get up again and we do it again, and we keep doing it until we get good at it, whether it's learning to walk or crawl or play. And learning is possible. We get to learn what is possible at a young age because we keep trying different things and we keep giving it a go. And we learn to see how far we can stretch those boundaries before we fall over, before we hurt ourselves, or before we even get into trouble. So what happens when we grow up? Why are we so keen to stay comfortable? What is it we fear about change? And what are we going to do differently? Perhaps today is the time to really consider doing something differently, taking that step outside of that comfort zone. And yes, I'm not going to lie, it will feel uncomfortable. And in fact, you may feel a little anxious, nervous, maybe even vulnerable, because there's that uncertainty of what you're doing. And yet this is where you get to discover what you are truly capable of. And it's time to stop staying comfortable and to take those steps to grow both personally and professionally. Why am I sharing this with you? You might be thinking, well, I've been there, I've done that throughout my career. You know, when I embarked on my career, I was incredibly shy. I was that quiet church mouse. I wouldn't say boo to a goose. I kept my head down and I did what I'd always done because it had worked for me. And that is to keep my head down, work really hard, because that would get me the success that I wanted, that I was striving for. And yet what I quickly realized, with the help of my manager at the time, is that that was not enough. If I wanted to move forward in my career, to achieve greater success, then I would need to do something differently. And what he shared with me at the time was that I needed to make myself known. I needed to share the value that I bring to the table and what it is that people should recognize about me, so that they can then have me top of mind and consider promoting me. But for me, that was really difficult, because that really was taking myself out of my comfort zone. And the reason being, I lacked any self-esteem, I lacked my confidence, I was afraid to speak up, and I tended to hide and shy away. And I believed that if I just worked really hard and delivered the results, that would be enough for people to recognize that I was good and that I deserved to be promoted. So fast forward to about 18 months after that conversation with my manager. Call it intuition, I don't know what it was, but it's something that drove me towards making a huge decision in my life. And that was to take a massive step out of my comfort zone. Why? Something was drawing me towards doing that. And I just felt at the time that whilst I enjoyed what I was doing, I was working as an accountant and I enjoyed the role that I had. I just felt that actually there was more. I wanted more. And I didn't know what that was, but I was going to go in search of it. So what did I do? Well, I had just taken on a mortgage. I just purchased my very first home and moved out of my family home. And I decided that I was going to become a recruitment consultant. What that meant was that I took a 50% pay cut and went into a completely new career, starting at the bottom, having to learn on the job, and taking a risk financially, and saying to myself, well, it'll work itself out. Unfortunately, it did. And don't get me wrong, I still remember day one where I was in that office and I was shown around the office. I was given my desk and said, right, there's a list of companies. I'd like you to get on the phone and call them, so cold calling them, and share this CV. It's the best CV we've got at the moment, and see if you can secure some job opportunities or get some interviews for this person. And the fear of God went through me at that point in time, because I thought, oh my God, what have I signed up to? And don't get me wrong, I had done my due diligence. However, the reality, being put in that situation, yes, fear went through me. I was feeling incredibly uncomfortable, and I felt like, have I made the right decision? So what I did was I put my head down and I worked really hard, and I learned. I was trained on how to make effective calls and have good conversations. And ultimately, I did really well out of it. I had a good couple of years in recruitment and I enjoyed it and I learned so much. But the biggest thing for me, and people have challenged me on this over the years, is why did you go into recruitment? Surely that was a waste. It was a bad move. But for me, stretching myself so much and taking myself out of my comfort zone meant that it exponentially grew my confidence. Why? Because it showed me what I was truly capable of. If you'd asked me 25, 27 years ago when I embarked on my career, if I ever thought I'd do the things that I had done throughout my career, absolutely not. To be successful in recruitment, to work in corporate finance, to work on multi-million-dollar deals, and to then be a very successful sales exec within tech. Those are all things that if you'd said that to me at the outset, I'd be like, no, I can't, that's not me, I can't do that. And so a big part of this, as you can tell, is around confidence, but it came from stepping outside of my comfort zone. In fact, I had a conversation with a lady just earlier this week about confidence. And she actually said, I wonder if it's the case that, maybe I just have to live with it. The fact that I lack confidence and I have that self-doubt. And absolutely, that is not the case. Confidence comes from within. It doesn't come from the external validations of people. Of course, that helps. But ultimately, to really build that confidence, that comes from within. And a huge part of that is learning to embrace change, to try new things, and to see what happens. And that's what I wanted to share with you today. So as I said, when we're a child, we're much more curious and inquisitive, and we have almost no choice really but to do new things and figure things out, because that's what we do as a child. And then things happen to us as we grow up, or people say things to us, and it knocks our confidence, it impacts our self-esteem. And without realizing it, often we carry that around with us for days, weeks, months, even years. And that is what can really, really hold us back. And so why is this important, and how does it relate to personal branding? As I mentioned earlier, personal branding for me is all about human potential. It's about the ability to learn and to grow consistently throughout our lives. And why wouldn't we? Why many of us stop choosing to learn and to grow and to develop once we get to adulthood, or we've gone through our education? We think, okay, that's enough now. We know everything we need to know. Let's get on with it. But actually, a personal growth journey is incredibly powerful. Ask anyone who's been through that, who's been on that journey. And so why is that? And again, why does it relate back to personal branding and your career? Because it's an opportunity to realize your capabilities, to recognize what is possible for you, and to create new opportunities. Because until we try new things, until we take ourselves into situations that are difficult, that are challenging, that are new, that create uncertainty, how will we ever know what we are truly capable of? So some questions I'd like to pose to you today. And number one, if you're someone right now who is feeling really comfortable with where you're at in your career, in your life, and that is amazing, because I want people to be happy and to feel comfortable with where they're at. That's really important. But I'll actually now stop and ask yourself, if you're in that position right now, what is it that's keeping you comfortable? Or a different question might be, what is it that is stopping you from putting yourself into a situation that has you feeling uncomfortable? Give that some thought. And if you'd want to share in the comments, please do. I'd love to hear what you're thinking right now. Because as I said, we like the idea of knowing what's happening. We feel like we're in control. And then we don't have any fears because we think we have that certainty around us. We know that this is what we know. This is our routine. Maybe it's the people, the environment, the work that we do, and it's familiar to us. And so that makes us comfortable. So what is it that is keeping you there? What is it that is stopping you from raising your head above the parapet and actually thinking, what else is out there? What is it that I could do or try that's new, or do something different that may make me feel uncomfortable, but I'm okay with that because that's where I get to grow? Think about it. When you hear stories of people who've been through either really tragic or challenging circumstances, particularly personally, and that's when they recognize, again, what they're capable of. Because when you put it, it's only when you're put into that situation that you realize your resilience, your strengths, and what you're capable of, right? And it's the same when it comes to your professional life, your career as well. So think about, what is it that's having you stay comfortable? Is it fear of the unknown? Is it fear of failing, fear of success, fear of other people's opinions, what they're going to say, what they're going to think? And remember, everyone's got an opinion. So How much value are you putting on that? Is it fear of change? Because here's the thing, change is inevitable. And I think we've all come to recognize that over the last 15 or 16 months, haven't we? There's only so much control that we do have. So ask yourself the question, what is the opportunity cost of you staying comfortable? What is the cost to you? What is it you're missing out on by remaining comfortable, by not applying for that promotion, by not trying something new in terms of your career, maybe putting your hand up for that big project, taking on a new client, or doing something different? What is the cost to you? Maybe you're really unhappy in the role or the organization that you're in right now, but you've been there a while, you feel really settled, you know how it all works. So you're spending, what, 40, 50, 60 hours a week feeling really unhappy, miserable, frustrated, resentful, stuck, held back because it's comfortable. Yes, this might sound harsh, but it's also reality. And somebody has to challenge you, and I'm going to be doing that. I'm going to challenge you because that's what I do. That's my job as a coach, is to really challenge you to ask yourself, what is it costing me to stay where I am right now? What am I missing out on? And actually, when I reflect back in 10, 20, 30 years' time at those decisions that I made, am I going to be happy, content? Am I going to feel fulfilled at what I decided to do, at the decisions that I made? So these are all things for you to consider. Think about the potential opportunities that you may be missing out on simply by wanting to stay comfortable, to have that certainty around you. Remembering, of course, that change is inevitable. And an even greater question to ask, if there is something you've been thinking about, maybe it's changing role, changing company, trying something different, and the first thing that comes to us naturally is, oh my God, but what could go wrong? And you start creating this huge list in your head of all the things that could go wrong. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, what could go well? In fact, what could go even better than I expected? Because it's true. Rationally, we know that's possible. And I'm certain that each and every one of you has had that experience where you've done or tried something new, different, and actually it's gone much better than you expected. However big or small it was. I'm not talking about job change necessarily, but something in your life that you've done for the first time, and it's like, oh, that went okay. And so apply that to your career, to your professional life, and think about actually what could go really well. And that's what happened for me. When I moved into recruitment, it wasn't about making more money than what I was making in finance. It was about, I wanted to do something different. I was drawn to that as a career at the time because I wanted to start to interact with people. I felt that by doing that, it would bring me out of my, not my comfort zone, but give me more confidence. And I wasn't really focusing on the money so much, other than the fact that I had taken a huge pay cut to do that. But in fact, when I reflected on it, there was so much good that came out of it. And yes, it was even better than I expected, because after my first year, I was earning more than I would have been earning had I stayed in my previous role. Now, of course, that could have gone either way. But the question to ask yourself is, what could go well and what could go even better than you expected? For me, it wasn't only about the money, it was the personal growth, the professional growth for me. Because I know if I hadn't taken that step at the time, I would probably still be working in a finance role today. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that at all. I have a lot of respect for finance, for accountants. You know, I have the qualification and I'm a huge advocate of the training. But the point is, I would be doing something and maybe questioning what if, and possibly not feeling fulfilled because that career wasn't the right career for me longer term. It was a great grounding for me, but it wasn't enough. It wouldn't have fulfilled me till today. Yeah, I know that if I hadn't taken that step then, I'd probably still be doing a similar kind of role. Would I be happy? Would I be fulfilled? Possibly not. And I most certainly wouldn't be stood here talking to you today. So some points I'd like you to consider. As you know, if you've joined the lives before, I'll always give you some takeaways, some things to go and think about or to implement, to apply. So I'd like to share with you 7 points to consider. If you're in that space where you're thinking, I want to be comfortable, but I also want to grow. There are 7 points. They all begin with the letter C, and you might want to write these down. So the number one thing to think about is certainty. We all want certainty in our lives to some degree. At some level, we want certainty around things. We want to know what's happening. We want to feel that we're in control. But ultimately, there is no such thing as certainty. Okay, and if any of you followed Tony Robbins or read any of his work or attended any of his training, you'll know that Tony Robbins talks about the human needs. And the first two that he talks about are certainty and variety. And what you want to do is consider what's important for you, because it isn't the same for everyone. Some people can thrive on a lot more uncertainty and variety and spontaneity than others. There are some people, depending on your personality profile, if you've ever looked at your personality profile, there are certain profiles that are more open to having that variety, that change, that the unexpected in their lives, than those who want absolute certainty in everything. But we can't control that. We know that. So start to bring into your awareness the levels of certainty and uncertainty that you are prepared to have. And if there's no uncertainty that you are prepared to create for yourself, ask yourself why. What is it that you're scared of? What is the fear that you have? And I invite you to start embracing and being open to change in every area of your life, because it creates a huge sense of freedom. And then you get to let go of that resistance. So the first two things, number one is certainty. Start to really look at that and explore, why is it you need so much certainty? What areas of your life do you need that certainty in? And where are you now prepared to adjust that to allow some of that variety, some of that uncertainty into your life? And as I said, number two is change. Let go of that resistance to change, because change is going to happen. Number three is choice. Because every situation creates a choice, and every decision that we make creates an outcome. And we're faced with choices every single day, whether it's a choice of what we choose to focus on, of what we do, of what we say, of how we behave. They're all choices that we make, many of them unconsciously, but we're making them. Again, a lot of this is about self-awareness, which you may have heard me talk about before. So really tune into that. Become aware of these things. Become aware of how much certainty you need in your life, and question that. Ask yourself, where am I prepared to let go and not have so much certainty? Where am I prepared to resist, to no longer resist change, and actually to embrace that change? And what choices do I have? How am I making those choices? What decisions am I making? And why? How am I holding myself back by virtue of the choices that I have and the decisions that I make? Number four is courage. Courage is about having the courage to take responsibility, because life can be easy, life can be hard. We get to choose that. But we also get to have the courage to embrace all of these things. We get to have the courage to step outside of our comfort zone, to make the choice to feel uncomfortable, because we know it's for a positive end. It will benefit us in some way. It'll help us to grow, to develop, to learn. And courage is about saying, right, I'm going to take responsibility for what I can control, and I'm going to make those decisions. So for example, I've often heard people who are working in an organization say, oh, they're really unhappy with their job, but they're just going to stay there and they're going to wait their time out in the hope that they get made redundant and they get some money. That is disempowering yourself. That is not having control. And there's a big difference to being able to make that decision for yourself to say, no, I am actually going to go and look for something else. I'm going to take this decision to leave. But yet people will hang on and hang on in the hope they get paid some money. And what's happening? What's the opportunity cost of doing that? Ask yourself that question. The next one is control. So I've mentioned that several times. It's taking control by making those decisions. The next point is consequences. And that is, what is the consequence of your decision, of the choice that you make? In other words, ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? And what could go well? And what can go even better than I expected? These are the questions that I want you to ponder over and think, okay, what is the worst really that could happen if I make that decision to try something new, to take myself out of my comfort zone? What's going to happen for me? And then finally, consistency. Consistency is about building those habits. It's about investing in your growth. So for example, there is so much information. As we all know, there's a wealth of information out there today that's free. You've got Google, you've got YouTube, you've got books, you've got podcasts, you've got courses. And of course, if you want to get there faster, then hire a great coach. Reach out to someone like myself, who is a coach, who will help you to get to where you want to be even faster. But you don't have to do that immediately. You can research, you can learn for yourself, you can read, you can listen to podcasts, you can join lives like this and hear and learn from other people. So a number of things that you can do to really start to get comfortable with making that decision to take yourself out of that comfort zone. I'm just going to recap on that. So again, the questions I want you to consider here are, what is it that's keeping you comfortable? Is it fear, uncertainty, change, the unknown, all of those things? What is it that's keeping you staying where you are? And what is the opportunity cost to you of doing that? What are you missing out on? What opportunities, what are the possibilities that you could embrace, that you could experience if you took yourself out of your comfort zone? And what could go well if you did that? Again, many people will avoid that question, think, well, all of these things could happen and go wrong. But imagine what could go well. And imagine how that would make you feel. And the 7 points I want you to consider today when you're looking at this is, first of all, certainty. What is your relationship with having certainty in your life versus uncertainty? And to what extent are you prepared to invite uncertainty into your life? And if that is 0, let's remember that change is inevitable. Life is uncertain. So what can you do to increase that percentage of uncertainty that you're prepared to accept in your life? Number 2 is change. So embrace change, let go of that resistance to change, because change is inevitable. Number 3 is choice. We're always faced with choices daily in everything that we do. What choices are you making and why? Start to bring into your awareness those decisions that you're making day to day on situations you find yourself in and opportunities that you're in, or that you have, sorry. Number 4 is courage. So ask yourself, are you taking responsibility? Have you got the courage to take responsibility for your decisions, for your outcomes, for your future? Or are you going to wait for your manager, your employer, to make that decision for you? Are you going to wait, for example, to be made redundant before you go and look for something else? Or are you going to wait in the hope that your manager will promote you at some point or give you a pay rise? Or are you going to take the initiative and go put a business case forward to ask for that pay rise, or for the bonus, or for a promotion? Have the courage. Number 5 is control. Take control. So I've already shared many examples of that. Number 6 is consequences. Ask yourself, what is the worst that could happen? And finally, and before that, what could go well? So not only what is the worst that could happen, but what could go well and what could go even better? And finally, consistency. Consistency with the habits of working on your own personal growth journey. And as I said, there is a wealth of information out there. It's just for you to have the courage, take the initiative, take control, and go out there and grab it and learn it. There are podcasts, there are books, there are lives, there are courses, there's YouTube, there is so much out there. And of course, as I said, if you want to get there even quicker, reach out and speak to me as a coach. I can guarantee I will get you there even faster. Okay, so ultimately today has been about growth and comfort do not exist. So if you want to grow both personally and professionally, then my advice or invitation to you is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Remember to build your influence, make an impact, and be remembered for all of the right reasons by showing up as the best version of yourself. Take care and see you next time. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to this podcast if you haven't already done so. And if you enjoyed and gained value from today's episode, then do please leave a review telling us your key learnings and what you enjoyed the most. And do please share this podcast with your friends and colleagues so we can spread the word on life leadership, creating a life of choice, freedom, and new possibilities. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn, and if you would like to learn more about how we can work together, either DM me on LinkedIn or email me. All details and resources can be found in the show notes.